Action Station, 1370 WOCA.
WOCA.
All right, 25 minutes before 11 o'clock. Beautiful Thursday morning. Hope you're doing well. And we have in the studio Greg Schmidbauer and Russ Lettbetter from Climate Control Mechanical Services. They're here to answer your questions about your air conditioners and your heaters and your air filters and your dehumidifiers, maybe your humidifiers. What's happening in here? There's something going back, a little feedback. All right, we're going to talk to them, maybe fix this problem. Good morning, guys. How you doing?
Good morning. How are you, Larry?
Where's that coming from? Where's that sound coming from? All right, I don't know. All right, good morning, everybody. Where is that sound coming from? Is that coming from that thing? Robert, could you push that button, that little plug-in right there? Oh, my goodness.
Hello?
Good morning, guys. How you doing?
Yeah. Doing well. How are you doing?
Yeah. Wow, it had an echo in here. I don't know what it sounded like on the air, but in the room it sounded awful, didn't it? Hi, how you going? Russ and Greg, good morning.
Good morning.
So that's one of those problems we have, see? We don't have hot or cold air. We just got sound that goes nuts sometimes.
Sound issues,
Dead air.
Can't help you with that one.
Yeah. So the question that you submitted, that I find it a fascinating question because I can see a couple of different ways of asking it. Why is proper heating and cooling installation important to you? And if you were to ask me, my answer might be different than somebody else's. I guess is what I'm getting at here, right?
Yep, probably. I mean, the most important thing, number one, is to make sure that you have a matched system, that the air handler is actually matched to the condenser. And the American Heating and Refrigeration Institute has a standard that those have to be matched to. You don't want somebody just pulling something off the shelf that they had for 5 years, an air handler here and a condenser there, and putting it in. You're not going to get your energy savings. It's not going to be Energy Star rated.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have known that.
And there's people that'll do that.
And if you hire a licensed contractor that gets permits, it wouldn't happen. But
because by law you have to match them up.
yeah, the county you will not get a permit unless it's a match system. It's part of the process they use to check before they issue a permit.
Oh wow! And is the like in one home you could probably notice the dollar amount of energy that you're saving or losing. But in the whole town, even a town is Ocala is a small town, but I mean even here, I'm guessing that adds up.
Oh yeah.
If you have enough people who are not doing the things that are right and making putting a bigger drain on the electrical grid.
And not only that, the system isn't going to last as long. You know, make it a couple years out of it if they're not matched, and then you're looking at replacing again. Yeah.
Is there a way to help us understand why? I mean, why does it not work? Like if I get a monitor, for example, for my computer made by a different company that made the computer, they're compatible.
Right.
So why do two
if
other...
the coil's not sized properly and the compressor's pushing refrigerant through it. There's a number of reasons. Amp draws, electricity, all those things.
Huh. So the compressor and the air handler, those are the two things that have to match?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So can you define what... I mean, I hate to say that I'm not really sure when you say air handler what that is.
Normally, in most homes in Ocala anyway, the air handler is the piece of equipment that's usually in the garage.
That's the fan, right?
Yeah, well, it blows. Yes, it moves the air through the home. And then your condensing unit is the unit that sits outside.
That actually makes it cold.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that's why I guess I don't understand why they would need to be compatible. Well, why you couldn't have it made by two different manufacturers. I mean, am I right that the air handler is just a fan?
No, not at all.
Oh, okay. That's what I need to know.
Oh, right.
What do I not know about the air handler?
There's also an evaporator coil in there. So the heating and cooling, the blower is actually pulling air across that coil.
Okay.
So in air conditioning, you're cooling with a heat pump and heat. It's warm. And then that heat transfer takes place there.
Okay.
And then the conditioned air is blown into the space.
Do they, for lack of a better way of asking this, do they talk to each other? Do they
communicate?
Yeah.
There are models that do.
They do? Mm-hmm. All right, let's go to the phone and see what's on the mind of the listeners. Good morning. You're on the air with Greg and Russ.
Yeah, good morning, guys.
Good morning.
If you live in a stretched-out ranch-type home and you're deciding to put air conditioning on both ends, Would each end have an air handler, or would one air handler handle both outdoor units?
One air handler definitely would. I mean, if you had 2 outdoor units.
Well, I mean, like two, with the fan and that stuff outside, with the heating and that.
I mean, the space would definitely have to be evaluated, and then energy calculations done, based on windows, the volume of the space, roofing material, and all that, and then calculate what tonnage system you would need, or systems, and then make the determination.
Instead of, let's say, having like one 4-ton on one side of the house, and you always have a problem kind of cooling or heating down the other side, so you decided to go with 2-ton units. Can you do that with one air handler, or should you have 2 separate air handlers?
You'd have to have 2.
Have to have 2.
Yes, sir. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Does that you do that kind of work fairly often, where you have a house that's kind of like elongated, and people kind of like split the air conditioning between both sides of the house?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that's not unheard of then.
No, a lot of larger 2-story homes will have a unit for the downstairs and a unit for the upstairs. So.
Yeah. What would could you put more power, blowing power in an air handler, and just have like one unit on one side of the house that would service the whole house, or would the air cool off too much or warm up too much by the time it got down to the other side?
That's one thing that can happen. The other thing too, remember, the slower you're moving the air across that coil, the more moisture you're pulling out of it.
Okay.
So the faster you're going, you'd notice a rise in your humidity as well.
Yeah. Is that kind of like how you would, is my thinking correct, like going from a 4-ton to 2-ton? Would that be correct? Or like maybe just having a 3-ton on one side and maybe just a 1-ton on one side?
Again, the energy calculations would have to be done to make sure we sized it, appropriately, and just throw something in there. So we want to evaluate the space, definitely.
Yeah, my brother-in-law down in Orlando, he has a 2-story home, and trying to cool a second story is just. I don't know why anybody would build a 2-story home in Florida.
Right, I agree.
And he's got a separate unit for upstairs, and it, his electric bills are, he's $400 or $500 a month in the summertime, and even at that, it's not really super cool in the house, and especially upstairs, you'd hardly know there was even air conditioning running, but the thing is running all the time, and he's got proper insulation and this and that and whatnot. So I don't know, maybe he has to go to more tonnage or something upstairs, or because there's less space, but it serves a problem being a 2-story building, especially like in Orlando, where their hot weather is probably a little bit longer than here, but even still, it's I would never consider a 2-story building in Florida just for that reason.
Yeah, I've had several homes that we've looked at, and the upstairs is definitely warmer. But again, that goes back to having the heat loads done correctly.
Right.
And again, it's all part of. If you have a licensed contractor who's pulling permits, all that has to be run through the permitting department before you're issued a permit. So.
Oh yeah. If you buy like a pre-existing home, 2-story, you'd probably have to have somebody like yourselves come in there and analyze the situation and probably redo a lot of the ductwork or whatever up there.
Yeah, we've had that. Where years prior they weren't as strict as far as sizing properly, and again, we were talking about match systems.
Yeah.
That's why it's so imperative to make sure you have a match system and make sure it's sized for the properly for the space.
Yeah, very good. Okay, well, thank you very much. Nice talking to you.
Thank you. Have a good day.
When you refer to a unit, does that include the ductwork? Is that part of the unit?
It's part of the system. It's
okay.
part of the system.
So if you had a situation like he was describing, would they all use the same ductwork, or do they have their own?
No, they would. If you had a 2-story house with 2 separate systems, they would have 2 separate runs of ductwork.
Oh, okay. So what?
Usually.
So if one breaks down, the other one doesn't fill in the gap, or it couldn't actually.
Right.
Yeah.
No. Yeah. It would have access to the ductwork for the system that's down.
And do are there systems where the homeowner, the consumer, can actually change the flow? I mean, can like cut off one whole? I mean, I know we have them here at this end, but
there's zone controllers where you can actually zone a home off. Say, you only go upstairs, I don't know, Friday night to watch TV or something. You can actually zone a system where it only supplies to where you want it, where the rooms are occupied. That makes sense.
Have you had a whole lot of feedback from the units or the ultraviolet light that kills the germs?
Actually, positive feedback.
Yeah.
Very much so, and especially a clean smell in the home. Almost like after a lightning storm when ozone's produced.
Oh, really?
That's the kind of smell that you'll get in the house. Like I said, I have it installed in my house, and it's great.
You do?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Really?
Two big dogs, and we cook a lot at home. We don't go out to eat a lot. You know,
Right.
Onion, garlic, all that type of thing, and really knocks it down.
And the same. I just installed one 3 weeks ago. I figured we're talking about it on the radio. I better have one in my home. So anyway,
Right.
it's the same thing. We cook a lot. We eat a lot of fish, things of that nature. And honestly, it doesn't have a lingering smell. I don't know if you've noticed, but it seems like 8 out of 10 people I meet recently have been sick with whatever's going around.
Right.
We've been pretty good about nobody in our home has gotten sick. So
Knock on wood, right?
Yeah, I think it has something to do with it. So.
Yeah. So I understand how the ultraviolet light gets rid of the germs. I think I understand that. How does it get rid of the odors, like from the fish and all that?
Do you want me to get real technical on this one?
I mean, if you need to, yeah. If you don't need to, I need to be talked down to a little bit. But
No.
I mean, but how does it actually get rid of smells?
The UV lights that we install on the supply side of the air conditioner, so the moisture level is really high. The smells are produced by organic material. When it passes by that UV light, it disassociates the bonds of the organic material and produces hydroxyl radicals, which actually oxidize the smells.
I got that.
Sorry. Sorry.
Hold on, we'll draw you a picture.
I got that, Russ. I got that. Yeah. Okay, well, I guess that explains
The bottom line is it really works.
that is the bottom line.
You know, that's really the thing.
I don't need to know how my car works, do I? As long as it gets me to work.
Yeah, I mean, and I was skeptical at the beginning, but I mean, after looking at the science and then having one in my house for going on, 3 years now,
Right.
It really, really makes a difference.
Do you have the customer clean the ductwork itself? Could I buy some kind of a attachment to my vacuum or something, or
No,
you guys do it.
We have about a $20,000 machine that we actually hook.
$20,000. Wow.
Yeah, we actually hook it into the return ductwork, and then we have a rotating brush. So we would start at the far end of the house. So you've got the vacuum pulling the contaminants through.
Right.
Then we got a brush on the far end, and it's spinning to break all the dust particles and
Oh wow!
garbage
Is it
loose.
so like a chimney sweep and
Kinda, yeah.
a modern chimney sweep?
And that goes out through a HEPA filter to make sure we're not spreading it back to the home.
Do you? Speaking of chimneys, do you have homes where what goes on in the fireplace is something you need to take into consideration?
Well, it's actually when you're doing heat loads for a home, you want to make sure the cooling's not going up the flue. So yeah, there would be something that's taken into consideration.
And okay, now for the heat that is produced by a fireplace, obviously that would take some of the load off of the heat pump if you needed it.
It would.
Yeah.
Then you just have to watch your humidity issues.
From the fireplace?
Yeah, because when I grew up, where I grew up, we had heated our entire house with wood burners, wood burning stoves, and I can remember in the wintertime the air got so dry that constantly had a sore throat.
Oh wow! So it does the exact opposite of.
Yeah, and that's why we would have to check the humidity to make sure you have the right amount of humidity where you're comfortable.
Wow! So a home with a fireplace, it doesn't seem like you would need a humidifier in Florida, but do you install them?
Oh, we could, yeah, absolutely. We would take a relative humidity measurement. If it was not within specs, we could either add or pull some of the humidity
obviously
out.
Only for the winter, I'm guessing, or mostly for the winter. I'm guessing that's how that would work.
Right.
Yeah. So not that we're doctors in here, but it seems like there's a correlation between the quality of the air and the frequency that you might be ill.
One thing I wanted to mention too is when you were talking about vacuuming the ductwork earlier, it just reminded me when I was a technician in the field, I can't tell you how many homeowners said, "Can I vacuum my filter on my own? Just take a vacuum cleaner and run it over."
Right.
You
right.
can't. You just need to change your filter regularly. Don't try to vacuum it with your vacuum cleaner.
Yeah, I'm in that school of thought. Why can't you just vacuum it, right?
Because but the filter is actually capturing the particles, so they're in the media. When you vacuum it, you're just going to push them in more, so you're not you're not gaining anything.
Oh, really?
So don't do that.
So maybe it looks better, but it's not better.
Correct.
Yeah. Do you guys have a recommended filter? I mean, are there I think we talked about this once before,
yeah,
right?
it really depends on the application. I mean, if you're a person who may have some type of asthma or COPD, then we would recommend a higher filtration system, 4-inch.
Right.
It really depends on the application.
Does a well-maintained air conditioner / heat pump actually create a longevity in the house in any way? Maybe the...
Well, if you keep your humidity levels under control, absolutely. I mean, the mold, mildew, things of that nature are all related to humidity. So if your AC unit, heat unit is working properly, you're going to keep your humidity level at an acceptable level, and it will actually prolong the life of the house, the drywall, the carpet, things of that nature.
Even wood flooring and cabinets, expansion and contraction, is pretty much eliminated.
Right. The phone lines are open if we have a question out there for your host, actually, not our guest, but Greg Schmidbauer is here. He's an assistant sales manager at Climate Control and Mechanical Services, and Russ Lettbetter is the service manager. Is that still correct?
Yeah, actually, I'm a service manager, and Greg's my assistant service manager.
Okay. Service is the word we should have put there. So how does the sale actually take place? Let's say we've got somebody interested, or they say, you know what, it's really true what they say. I really should get a new one. It's been 7 or 8 years. Do we call you? You come out and look at our circumstances?
All of those things. I mean, if you want to call us, we can definitely schedule an appointment to come out. If we're doing a service on a unit, the technician will evaluate it, and if he determines, that the repairs are getting to be, just not feasible or not practical, he'll call us at that time, and we can schedule someone to come out and give an estimate on the system, so you can do it either way.
Now, from my perspective, it seems like we've got cold weather way longer this year than we've ever had. You guys,
yeah, and not consistently, sporadically. It's been really strange.
Yeah. So what does that do for you? I mean, people aren't calling yet, right?
They are. But it's interesting. I mean, one week you have no cool calls, and the next week you have no heat calls. So the systems are cycling back and forth between heat and cool a lot more, which is actually much harder on the system.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Huh. So if you keep your thermostat set, let's say at 70, that's kind of cold, isn't it? 70 is kind of cold. So
yeah.
Okay. Well, let's just use that as a thumb or as a point of reference. And it's 72. So now the air conditioner comes on and drops it to. If it goes down to 68, does the heater automatically come on and go up?
Yes.
Oh, it does.
Yeah, if you have an auto changeover thermostat.
Okay.
You can get them that automatically change over between heat and cool.
Have you got swimming in the rivers around here, by the way?
Have we been?
Yeah. Ever?
Oh, yeah.
72 degrees is what they say, right?
Comes out of the ground?
That's what they say, right?
It doesn't feel like 72.
Well, that's my point. How come when it's 72 outside it feels so good, and when you jump into that water it feels so cold?
Oh, it's like last night. I was a little cold, and I went to the thermostat. It was 74 degrees. I'm like, man, in the summertime.
right. That's an interesting observation too. Yeah, 74 in the summer. You go, this feels great.
Perfect. Yeah, but now it's cold.
Strange, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you think that the addition of humidity to a house would actually help cool down, or would that make it less comfortable?
Make it less comfortable, definitely.
I mean, if you're walking through your house, you have carpet, and every time you go to touch something metal, you get zapped from static electricity.
Right.
Then you have a humidity issue.
Too low?
Adding humidity would help that situation.
Right.
But you want to keep it around somewhere around 50-55% relative humidity.
Which is sort of what we've had here, not lately, but I remember that situation here.
Yeah.
Does that static electricity, regardless of how it's caused, does it ever cause problems with the electronics of the equipment?
It could. I haven't personally witnessed it, but I mean, honestly, if a technician opens up the cabinet and they touch a panel or control board, I mean, theoretically, it could short the board out. It could cause some issues.
I mean, the biggest thing down here I've seen, obviously, is lightning.
Yeah.
Just taking out thermostats, circuit boards, any low voltage.
Lightning can do a lot of damage.
Yeah, it can.
But see, now that's the one thing. Like, if I see a storm coming, I will unplug my computers, unplug everything. You can. Now I don't. I probably should, but I don't unplug my refrigerator. I probably should, but I don't. But you can't unplug the air conditioner. That's it. I mean, you're hardwired into that thing.
Well,
so.
actually, we do have a
Surge protector?
Thank you, surge protector that we can install on the outside unit, and it will protect the unit.
Wow, everybody should have one of them.
Absolutely.
I mean, they actually work against lightning?
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
Yep. They sure do.
Now, if you turned the circuit breaker off to the outside unit during a storm, would that be enough to prevent it from getting hit? Or is that little gap in there not enough?
Depending on the hit, I mean,
Yeah.
it actually could jump the breaker. So, even if it's shut off.
Right.
And a lot of times it'll follow the low voltage, which is what controls your thermostat. You know, it's the low voltage application,
Right.
your circuit board, that type of thing. And it'll follow the thermostat wire right in, you know, the house and not even go through the panel.
Right. When you are planning I guess your day plan for what you're doing at that given day of work, are there lots of curveballs thrown your way, or do you kind of, in other words, you get lots of calls in the middle of the day that kind of says, well, okay, we didn't have that plan, but I can make it over there now, and
Oh, yeah.
that kind of thing?
Yeah, contingencies in place, absolutely.
It happens a lot, right?
It does.
So do you stay in touch with each other, like by radio, as you're out and about?
Well, we have radios, phones. They all have laptops in their vans. They're all GPS monitored. We actually have a new dispatcher who is fantastic as far as working with customers and making sure the techs are there on time. You know, she is very good at planning ahead. You know, my technicians are usually pretty booked the following day, but she always has somebody off to the side that can run the emergency calls as they come in.
Right.
Very efficient in what she does. We're glad to have her on board.
You know, eventually we will be, and I know you know this, we'll be at the Paddock Mall.
Mm-hmm.
What would be fun, I guess, would be to go out to, there'd be more passersby at that time, to just kind of randomly stop people and ask them, why is a proper working air conditioner important to you? And I'm guessing that their answers would be different. You know,
Oh, I'm sure.
You know, one person might say, well, I got babies. You know, somebody else, maybe I got plants, you know, things like that.
Mm-hmm.
Have them turn the air conditioner off in their car while they're answering the question, and I'm sure you'll get the...
In August.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Yeah, here's why it's important to me. But I guess that's the whole point that I wanted to make at the beginning with the question, was that the answer would be different for everybody.
Yeah, you know, and speaking about the installation side of things, I mean, there are differences between the brands, the Trains, the Reams, the whatever, but you can take a high-end whatever brand, and if it is not installed correctly, you could lose 30% efficiency of the unit. So instead of being in, let's say, an 18 SEER unit as far as efficiency rating, it may only be a 15. So you're thinking that you're going to get all these monthly savings because you have a higher efficient unit, but it's installed improperly, ducts weren't sized, the boots weren't sealed, something of that nature, and you're actually pretty much in the same boat where you were. So it's really important to have the unit installed properly.
And I'm guessing the way it gets installed improperly is Uncle Charlie comes over and says, you know, I got a system, I can bring it over here, and next thing you know, he's not really sure what to do. And
yeah, the guy pulls up, he's got your condensing unit strapped to the roof of his car.
Right.
It's probably not a good sign.
Yeah.
And again, and I can't stress it enough, the importance of using a licensed contractor that pulls permits. The county, city, they do an excellent job of making sure they're installed correctly. Plus, there's safety issues. If somebody wires something incorrectly, I mean, they could burn your house down.
That's exactly right.
So,
oh man, that's a huge reason right there.
Yeah, so it's very important. And again, once we get a permit, once we do the job, we send out a senior tech to make sure everything looks well, and then the county comes out and inspects, and they cut us no slack.
Thank you guys for coming in. What's a good phone number they can call, the listeners can call if they wanted to have a maintenance contract with you guys, or have a new system put in, or anything at all?
352-291-0185.
All right. What's your plans for today when you leave here? You got any big jobs ahead of you?
Yeah, actually we do. We got
hospitals?
some big commercial jobs to look at in Tampa.
Oh, really? Really? All right. Well, thank you guys.
All right, thank you.
Thank you for what you do for all of us. We'll take a little break, and we will be right back. If you need the number to climate control, by the way, call us here at the radio station. We'll be glad to repeat the phone number for you over the phone. We'll be right back.
You're listening to WOCA News Talk 1370, Ocala's source for what's happening in today's hottest, up-to-date news and topics.
Since 1976, Daniel